Hello friends, Tanya here with another video for Spellbinders. This is featuring the 2022 May card kit of the month called Koala Smiles, and this is a 10 cards, 1 kit video. I'm going to be using the Precision Layering A2 in the A and B size, the Faux Stitch Embossing folder of the month for May 2022. I'm going to die cut and emboss with these on a white piece of cardstock, and I'm going to die cut a slightly larger layering panel from pattern paper. I am also going to take two 3x3 inch pieces of cardstock and pattern paper from the kit and use the Create a Slimline Border die. And one of the circles from Say Cheese, the large die of the month from April 2022. It just happened to be the closest circle to my reach. So I'm going to die cut this fallout piece, and then I'm going to layer this notebook pattern paper that's from the pad that comes in the kit directly to this dark brown that also comes in the kit. And now to apply glue to these very fine detail parts, I tend to put glue on the back of my hand and then just dab the detail right into the glue puddle. Now that we have these adhered together, we'll take this circle die, which is the smaller of the two circles in that die set, and die cut that. And then we're going to take and adhere these directly to one of the card bases from the kit. Now there are 10 card bases in the kit, and there are there's 20 patterns in the pattern paper pack from this month, and there's 40 sheets, so 2 of each design. So you don't have to worry about using up all of your pattern paper because there's gobs. You won't be able to use it all, even on those 10 cards. And we have several of the die cuts. This is a protea flower with, I think that's eucalyptus that's behind it, and I'm not sure what these little yellow flowers are. If you know what they are, leave a comment in the box below because I'd love to hear what those flowers are. We're going to adhere the circle directly to the panel, and throughout this video you will see me adding either layers of cardstock scrap or coaster blank behind the different die cuts to give them a little extra dimension and a little extra stability. It just really brings up the game a little bit. And I don't always do a 10 cards 1 kit video for my kits. Sometimes I don't have time. Sometimes I'm just not as inspired because, you know, mojo, it comes and goes, I think. And some kits are more inspiring to my taste than others, and I bet you find that yourself. I found that I used, so there's 2 of each of these die cuts, the die cut shapes. There's 2 of each type in the kit, and I think I used 1 of almost every single one of the die cuts this month. I really enjoyed the flowers that were included. Now these Puffy Stickers, oh my gosh, they're kind of a brassy gold. I really love the richness of this gold, and it reminds me of specialty cardstock. It's got a extra depth to it and beauty, and I love the variety of sentiments that come on this particular sheet. They're very versatile. They aren't specific to a whole lot of things. There's general hi, hey, love you, thanks, and hello, and happy, I think. And these hearts, oh, there's 3 different sizes of hearts, and I'm going to use 3 hearts on here in 2 sizes. I really like how they really add some detail to this card without having to add extra gems or anything. They have that extra shine and specialness to them. So that's card number 1. Here is card number 2. We're going to use the die cuts that I created with the unboxing video. And I've taken some green cardstock, white cardstock, and the bamboo cardstock, And I'm going to use the Color Block Slimline Edge dies, and I'm going to use this diamond, chevron, whatever you want to call it, after I die cut each of those colors with one of those precision layering dies so that they'd all be the same size and shape, and then just die cut the different edges. I'm going to adhere the pattern paper directly to this card base that's also from the kit, and then we'll layer these up. I do really like how these turned out, but you could alternate how you die cut these and create more of a diamond pattern versus this chevron pattern that we're going to get with this. And I had to make sure I was adhering these in the right orientation. It's so frustrating when you get everything adhered to the front of your card and you realize you adhered it upside down or sideways. Yeah, then you have to come up with some creative fixes. It's not the end of the world. Now we're going to take our already assembled koala on a branch, and we're going to figure out where we'd like this one on the card. There are opportunities for adding some dimension here. I'm just using some scrap cardstock. You may notice whenever I'm using cardstock that there's often something on the other side. There's no reason to throw it away if you can use it as a layering piece or flip it over and just use the other side to create your design. We're going to actually take a piece of scrap paper here to die cut another piece of that branch so that I can add some dimension behind that. Now there are some actual cut details in that branch, so you want to be careful that you don't have too much glue seeping through that. I'm wiping away the extra glue there. We'll adhere a little koala on a branch to the front of this card, and I do decide to make this a portrait orientation card. This would work as a landscape also, but I really liked the portrait with this one. And then we're going to take the words, and I didn't use all of them. I'm going to use hang in there. I added a little bit of precision glue to the back of that word, and I'm finding my reverse tweezers indispensable. They are so handy. I'm going to use that tweezer to hold my words as I'm applying glue. You see me dab the glue off on the back of my hand because that helps to avoid the extra glue seeping out. I was using my pointy tool there to get some extra adhesive out from the inside of that G, and I just scraped it right out, and that worked perfectly. Now I am using my grid mat to help me make sure that my words are all in line, and my fingers are pretty gluey, so I used a piece of scratch paper to rub over that. And now we have card number 3. We're going to use the Fluted Classics rectangle dies to create a matted, detailed piece here for this next card. And as you can tell, I've taken several of the die cut pieces that come in the kit and grouped them together in groups that I would enjoy using. I used that same technique as I used on the first card to create this circle, although I'm going to mat that with the same dark brown cardstock to add a little extra definition around this particular circle. Now I decided I needed more color, more contrast behind that white mat and the white cardstock card base. So I pulled out that dark plank pattern paper piece, and we're going to use another of the precision layering A2 dies to die cut this wood panel to fit behind it, and I'm just dry fitting that die to see if I like how it fits on that card base. Again, making sure that my card base is in the right orientation. I'm going to adhere that right to the card base. I'm not adding any extra cardstock behind the pattern paper this time. I am trying to open my horizons here a little bit. Normally I stick that to a piece of cardstock before I adhere it, and I don't have to actually do that every time. So we're gonna give this a whirl without it. This is just plain white cardstock that I've die cut the Fluted Classics rectangle from, and I'm going to center this detailed circle on the front of the card. We're going to add a layer of white cardstock behind that and adhere that to the front of the card. I do use a heavyweight block to help everything dry and adhere better. We've got these beautiful vases. I'm going to adhere one of these straight to the circle, and this one I'm going to add a little bit of dimension with a cardstock scrap behind the center of it, and we'll adhere that right overlapping the first vase a little bit. And then we have this sentiment that comes from the die cut pieces set from this kit, and I'm going to add a little bit of dimension behind that also. We're going to do double layer here, so it's a little more elevated than the middle vase, and I'm just trimming this cardstock down to make it fit behind the different portions of the sentiment. We wouldn't have to cover the entire thing, just the larger areas. And I decided to only put one layer behind the H area, since that's going to overlap the vase. And that I'm going to line up using that die cut edge to guide my straightness. I had picked out a couple pieces of greenery to stick in here before I decided to use that wood panel piece, and decided that that was too much. We didn't need that. There are gobs of these little paper hearts in the kit, and we're going to take 3 of those and adhere those as little embellishments on here also. I suppose I could have used the sequins, but I felt they were a little too bold colored. We are on to the next card, and is this card number 4 maybe? I'm going with a more masculine feel here. We've die cut that topographic pattern paper with the precision layering A2 dies and another fluted classic piece of white cardstock. And then I decided I needed a little bit of gold spatter, so I pulled out this metallic shimmer ink from Hero Arts, and I'm adding it to my little palette, and I'm going to add water to that. It's pretty thick. I had to use my paintbrush to get it off. I'm going to have to do a little doctoring there, revitalization of that bottle of paint. And we'll just spatter that all over our fluted classic rectangle to get that nice spattered look there. And that actually dried pretty fast. Now I need to clean my work surface. I just have a bottle of soapy water here at my desk, along with a microfiber cloth to do my cleaning. Again, going to adhere this topographic paper directly to the card base. It doesn't seem to matter which direction I put this because it isn't one directional. We'll add the fluted classic piece directly to the pattern paper layer. No need for extra dimension on this one. We'll get that nicely centered. And then we're going to take our grouping of ephemera or die cut shapes. And as you can see, I have them held together right now with some press and seal. I'm going to add a little bit of glue just to the camera, and I'm adjusting that. The feel of this card is travel to me. Maybe if you have a family member or friend who enjoys traveling or has travel as part of their profession or their whole lifestyle. You know, there's so many people that are doing the van life now, and some of them it's by choice, some of it's just because that's all they can afford to live in, but it's very romanticized right now. Who doesn't dream of a road trip, especially to Australia? Someday I am going to rent an RV in Australia and spend a month or 3 months or 6 months wandering that continent just to check it out. I would love to do that everywhere. That's kind of a dream. I don't know if it'll ever come true. Dreams are good though. I think this mug perfectly personifies that thought of traveling on your own, either in an RV or camping, where you're doing most of your own cooking and hanging out at campfires, which I love. That is such a great part of warm weather activity for us. I do want to add a sentiment to the front of this card, and I thought I would stamp directly on the card after I got it completed, but realized that it doesn't quite fit. I'm going to need to put it on a different piece of cardstock in order to make this work out. I am using one of the sentiments from the stamp set. I used my VersaFine VersaFine Clair ink in Nocturne, and I am heat embossing it with a little bit of the Brutus Monroe Fairy Dust. It's got a little bit of glitter in there. It's clear embossing powder, fine clear embossing powder with some glitter in it. And I will heat set that, and I'm just going to use my trimmer here to cut this out. I'm trying to be very careful here and line that up. And I apologize, I'm still learning my new camera on my new phone. It tends to just focus on my hand. And most of the time it's focused on what I want it to be, but I don't know until I'm editing that it's not focused the way I want it. I apologize. Hopefully it's getting better with each recording, but yeah, there's only so much you can do. Here I'm making sure that my cutting is straight. I'm going to add a little dovetail to this, so I'm going to cut straight in and then go from the sides to the end of that cut to create these little dovetails. And then I'm going to dry fit this on my card, make sure it fits the way I want it. And it looks like I'm going to have to trim off a little more. I don't trust myself cutting it straight, and so I bring in my trimmer again. And we'll adhere this directly to the card panel, tucking it a little bit under the bike and over the camera. And I think I'm going to add something to the inside of this card also. Yep, I'm going to take and open this card all the way up and be really daring and stamp this right in the bottom of the card. We're going to add a sentiment. I think it's kind of a it's just a sweet, encouraging sentiment. I don't remember exactly what it says. Something about to know you is to love you, I believe. And I think, yep, you are celebrated today because to know you is to love you. Next, we're going to do some ink blending. I took a ink that I don't use very often. It's called Old Paper, and it is distressed oxide. And I'm going to do an ombre of ink blending here, going from deepest on the right and fading off to white on the left. It's actually going to be top to bottom. I do spatter some clean water on here, and then I'm going to smush some of the ink onto my surface here and add a little water and spatter the Old Paper paint or ink onto the cardstock also. And then I'm going to use some gold paint and spatter on here, and then I will dry it with my heat tool. After I've dried this, I'm going to use another of the precision layering dies to die cut this panel so that it will fit nicely on a card base, because I started with a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch cardstock. Here we have another grouping of the die cut shapes from the kit. I'm going to adhere this directly to the card base before I start adhering our die cuts to the card. There is a theme going on this one. It's definitely the kangaroo. We're very Australian here. It's going to be a very happy birthday. We're going to use a couple of foiling sentiments. The sentiment banner and the We Celebrate glimmer sets. And there are coordinating dies for parts of this. I'm going to use the banner from the sentiment banner set to die cut the happy birthday die or glimmer foiled sentiment, and I foiled that onto some 120-pound cardstock with it's either polished brass or gold foil. Now there are these adorable little tiny circles with koala on one, a kangaroo on another, and the bird on the third design. Now I'm incorporating them into several of the cards. I have a little banner tag here that I've adhered one of the sentiments and the little tiny kangaroo circle. We're going to glue one of the large protea flower bouquets onto this grouping also. And I am, of course, adding a little bit of dimension behind these pieces. I had grouped them all together and laid them out the way I thought I wanted them, and used the press and seal to keep them all in place until I was ready to put them on a card. Just adding a little glue to that protea flower to make sure that's all where it needs to be, and we'll adhere that to the card base. Now it's time to add a little extra dimension behind our kangaroo. Again, just using some scraps of cardstock. I find that to be the perfect way to make these die cut pieces fit in with the quality of the rest of the card. I like to make my images a little bit heavier weight. I like my cards to have a heftier feeling. And when you're working with kits, that can be a little bit of a challenge. Often these die cut pieces are very lightweight, but when you add a little bit of layering behind them, it really makes a lot of difference. And we all have lots of scraps in our craft rooms. It's just part of the process of crafting to end up with scraps, and why not use them? This is the perfect way. When you're going through your die cut shapes, it's not a bad idea to start grouping them into small clusters of what you would like to use together. I often will also take out my paper pad and start pairing them with pattern papers that I'd like to use them with. Sometimes I have so many pieces that I think I want to put on one card. I have to divide them into 2 or 3 cards to spread them out a little more, because you can't put everything on one card. You just can't. And there are so many beautiful pieces in this die cut pad or die cut pack that you could use every single one of those pieces and still feel like you're inspired. I did create quite the cluster here. I wonder, do you like those very full of main images cards, or are they just too busy for you? I tried to keep this background fairly simple to balance out the busyness of all of the different die cut pieces and the background. I decided to add some gems. These are I think these are the Spectrum color gems, and they have an iridescent rainbowy kind of quality to them with a little bit of a purple blue tint to them, which I think really matches this well. I dropped one of my rhinestones, was having troubles finding it. It had just landed between the rows of gems, and I found that. You can be a little heavy-handed with this if you want. I mean, with all of those different ephemera pieces, you could really add a little extra pop by bringing the eye outside of the cluster with the rhinestones. And then we're on to our next card. This one oh no, we're not on to the next card. I decided to stamp the Protea flower bunch from the stamp set inside the card. I did use the old paper Distress Oxide ink on the inside of the card. I thought it might be too dark, but honestly, I think it looks good. It's one of those colors that kind of like a nice taupe, a light taupe or a light gray that blends in quite nicely. And we're going to add a sentiment to the inside also. There is a longer inside of the card kind of birthday sentiment in this set. It's a really small print, so you might not want to use it for your older relatives because they might have to have their cheaters on to read that one. Now we're ready for the next card. And we're going to use a embossing folder that isn't from any of the month things. This one's called Geo Screen. Has a great geometric background. I die cut a piece of white cardstock with a precision layering die for the A2 precision layering dies, and then I did the embossing with the Geo Screen embossing folder, which is another 6x9 embossing folder. Actually, it's not 6x9, it's 5.5 by 8.5, because it'll do an entire half sheet. Anyway, I glued that to a card base, and now I'm using a little bit of pink Distress Oxide ink. I think it was spun sugar and worn lipstick, and added that to the embossing just to bring that embossing out a little bit and add some contrast to all of these light colored images that we're adding. I did do a little bit of gold spatter. Yes, there's a lot of gold spatter in these cards, but there is a lot of gold foiling on these cards also. Again, doing the layering of cardstock scraps behind the different pieces. We've got more than one of those beautiful little protea bouquets here, and the theme on this card is going to be love and cuddles and moms and koalas. We are using 3 koala images here, all of the koala images that are available in your die cut pack. We've got that little tiny circle, we've got a mom and baby, and we've got a single koala cuddling on a branch here. I'm adding some of the eucalyptus branches here underneath the koala here and tucking that in between the different bouquets. There's even a beautiful little envelope with a protea bouquet coming out of the envelope, all with these beautiful watercolor style to them. I'm going to adhere that little circular koala to the heart, and I have a little sub-sentiment that we're going to use. And the foiled Happy Mother's Day is from the Celebrate You suite or collection of things. There's a Happy Father's Day and a Happy Mother's Day foiling die on each of those, or foiling plate, and a coordinating die to cut those out. The Mother's Day one is like the bubble cut, so it cuts all the way around, detailed around that foiling. And the Father's Day is a banner die, so it's a more blocky style text and very blocky die cut. I love this scripty die that the Happy Mother's Day is with, and I am just adding one little extra piece of dimension behind that sub-sentiment because I didn't have enough behind it. We are also going to add some of the spectrum color gems here, and I again am trying to bring your eye outside the cluster of images because there are so many of them, but I think it's kind of fun. It's full of vibrancy and beauty, and heck, you have all of these ephemera pieces. You may as well use them. I love it when they are so pretty and so coordinated with each other, and there's such a great variety. We're on to the next card. We have this purple background with the pretty pink protea flowers. We're going to use the, oh, what is this? Dainty Scallop? I think it's Dainty Scallop. I'll have it linked in the description box below. I used a lot of different supplies from my stash here, and we all should be doing that. These kits aren't, you can certainly create with them using just the kit contents, but the whole point of having these monthly kits is to build your collection and to incorporate them together. This oval die is not from a kit, but I do want you to shop your stash and see what you can find that you would like to use in combination with the different products that you get. We're gonna I cut that from some shimmery white cardstock, not from the kit, but again, shop your stash. We're going to put this on the side so it's hanging off just a smidge, and I will end up having to trim that off. The main image on this card is going to be a kangaroo, and she's just saying hi. She's got the cute little boho theme going with the flower crown. We have this pretty frame that I'm measuring here. It turned out to be about 1 3/4 by 2 1/4, and I'm going to cut a piece of shimmery white cardstock to go behind that. But before I adhere that shimmery white cardstock backing, I'm going to add some coaster blank. You could use foam tape, whatever you like to use, to add a little extra dimension, because this koala's head is going to be popping out of the frame, tucked in on the bottom and popping out at the top. So I'm going to raise the frame up all the way around. We'll just add little pieces of coaster blank. I'm sure you've seen this done before. You could use that. You could do this same method to create a shaker card if you used a little acetate in there in your sandwich. And you could put all kinds of things in that frame. I do love a good frame. It's really fun. I like that the oval, the detailed oval die that we've used, is going to add some definition between the background and this frame. It's a pretty pattern paper, but it's really busy, and you would lose some of your detail. Your eyes just wouldn't know where to land on the card if you didn't have some definition or some separation with that white oval. So we used the oh, I don't remember which sentiment glimmer set this is from. I'll have it again linked in the description box below. I used several sentiment glimmer sets. They came out with, Spellbinders has come out with several in the last few months, and I'm a sucker for a good sentiment glimmer foil set. I love having all of those options. We'll adhere that just off center on this card, and oh, I don't need that extra layer there. So I'm just going to peel that off and put it back down on our card front. We have a hey there, little word bubble that we're going to add. And I thought it might not work out because there's so much purple there, but if you place it just right, it will work out. Here I'm trimming off that extra bit. That you could use a larger envelope if you wanted to leave that overhang. I find that that can get caught and squished if it's not handled well. You'd have to add a little extra layer of corrugated cardstock or something to make sure that it didn't get squished when it went through the mail. When you have just a little delicate piece hanging over the edge, I find that that can be a little problematic. We're going to use some more of that Spectrum gem here, and I am surprised after all of the Spectrum gems I used on these cards that I have any left at all, but they were so perfect with the color scheme of this kit. This has to be one of my favorite kits that's come out this year. It's so pretty. I really like it, but I'm kind of drawn to Australian things because it's one of the places I have always wanted to visit. And those protea flowers, they're just so unique. Next up, we're going to use the Fluted Classic Rectangle again. We've got another protea flower background, some gold mirror cardstock, and some shimmery white cardstock that I've die cut using these dies. I also use the Precision Layering A2 for a piece of white cardstock to back that cardstock to back the patterned paper. I wanted a little extra dimension on this one. Instead of putting any foam tape or chipboard behind it, I wanted a little bit lighter weight thing, so I used some cardstock. And since I die cut these with the same die, they just fit right on top of each other. So I glued those together, and we'll glue those to the card base. This could have been way too busy without the framing of the gold foil and the shimmery white cardstock here. Just going to add a little dimension behind the gold foil. We're going for it with this card. It's going to have all the dimension and all the things. I'd been trying to keep it fairly simple, but this one went for it. We'll get all of these layers adhered, and then we'll start adhering the ephemera. I hope you're hanging in there. This has turned into a really long video, but 10 cards, y'all. 10 cards, and they aren't just one little item with a layer of paper, pattern paper. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying this. I really had a good time. It took me all day, but I enjoyed it. Sentiments for Every Day, is that what that's called? Yes. That is the same set that I used for the previous card also. This one is going to be a thank you card, and we are going to use the bird themed little tiny circle, and there's a stamp with a bird on it. Is this a kookaburra? Somebody let me know in that description box below. All of you Australia experts, I know you're out there. We're just going to start adhering the things that are in the background. We've got this pretty little doily. I did go ahead and add the dimensional pieces behind these, so you didn't have to watch me do that again. There's this little protea bud, which is perfect for just tucking in the corner there. There's all kinds of little tags in this set, and I'm trying to use components from all of the kit. I don't think I ended up using the circular letters, the chipboards, but I think I've used something from every other portion of this kit. Lots of ephemera. I did use the puffy sticker words, and I will use that again. I've used some. Did I use any of the chipboard yet? That might be coming. This butterfly, I did some double layers of cardstock scrap on the ends of the wings, and then I adhered the base of the body flush to the card. I'm going to remove that hole from the tag, and I thought briefly about putting a little string in it, but I decided it was already adhered, so I wasn't going to go there. I have some gold baubles. There's the fashion gold baubles that are self-adhesive from Spellbinders. I don't happen to have them, but I think they look pretty much exactly like these. We're going to pull out this dainty loops. What I really wish I could remember the name of that right off the top of my head. I actually don't have the packaging for that with the dies, so I don't remember it right off the top of my head. Again, linked in the description box below. I know it's still available. I came out this past probably about 9 months ago. This card, we're going to use the green gingham background, and I've adhered that to a piece of cardstock that's die cut with the same precision layering die, and we'll adhere that to a card base also. And you can see that I've used various widths or various sizes of the precision layering dies to have different framing on the cardstock around the pattern paper. We've done the pretty detailed rectangle in a gold foil, and we have some more shimmery white cardstock cut from the inside rectangle, and we have 3 vases for this one, and the Happy Mother's Day glimmer foiled and die cut piece also. I did add a little bit of cardstock scrap behind each of these, and I'm going to start adhering the center one here. This is a fairly simple card. It's just got some die cutting and just a few of the die cut pieces. I think those are so pretty. I think I've used all but one of those, so I think I only have one vase left out of this pack. And I'm sure I'll find something cute to do with that. I'm not done with this set. Even though I've done 10 cards, I feel like I could still play with this some more. I'm still feeling inspired by it, and I still have gobs of stuff I can use out of this kit. We're adhering that sentiment right underneath the vases. That's kind of the shelf they're sitting on. They don't really fit inside the frame, but it nicely separates it from that busy gingham background. We're using some more of those gold bauble embellishments here, just scattering those throughout. And that is this card. I think this is card number 9. We might be almost done here. Next, we're going to use the old paper and scattered straw, and we're going to ink blend again. So we'll start I think this is going to end up being the top. We'll start with a fairly heavy layer of the old paper and blend that into our cardstock. And this happens to be some, I think it's basil paper. It's what came in the kits until they changed the paper they were using. So it's got a linen texture to it, I think. Nope, this is smooth white cardstock. 80-pound smooth white cardstock. I don't know what I was thinking. I blended the old paper and the scattered straw together, and now I'm spattering it with some clean water, and then we're going to get some gold spatter going here. I don't think I actually did any green spatter. I keep that little palette in a drawer on my desk so I can use the metallic colors whenever I feel like it. Makes it a lot easier in my life to not have to dig out all of the same supplies, because I try to keep my desk fairly clear of product when I'm working so that I have space, because what you see, I maybe have another 3 inches on each side of me that you're not seeing, which I need so that you don't see all the clutter. Oh my goodness, because you know how it is when you're creating. You need to have all of your supplies that you're currently using. Back to this card. We are using more of the ephemera, and I don't use tag shapes on my cards very often. I like to use the tag shapes for actual tags, but when they're this lightweight paper, they don't work so well for actual tags unless you layer them together with the exact same shape, or maybe something a little bigger. We're going to use some greenery here. We've got the eucalyptus branch, and we have some gold foil greenery, and now we're going to actually use one of the chipboard stickers. I do use a little extra glue on those. They can seem to be super well stuck and then pop right off. Now we're going to take one of the sentiments of these puffy stickers. I do love these. I really do. I have a feeling these are all going to get used up here soon. I want a thank you card, and I'm trying to decide which direction to put the thanks. I should have made this more of a landscape card, but I thought portrait was the way to go. And we're going to add some more of these hearts. I wish there were more of these hearts, because I'm using multiple of them with just a single sentiment, and I really like them. They're very pretty. They just have such a richness to them. I know, I keep saying that, but it's still true. And then we're going to add a few of the gold baubles again, just adding these throughout the card. I love how they add just a little extra pop of deliciousness on the card. And I like that the ink blending comes from the top down. That is the 10th card. 10 cards. Here we'll just lay them out quickly again, and you can try and figure out which one was which. I will do some close-up photos here at the end. I know that seems like a lot, but I don't always do a blog post, so I got to put my still photos in somewhere. I hope you enjoyed this video. I really enjoyed playing with this kit. Can you give me a comment in the description box or down below letting me know which of these cards you enjoyed the most? I'd love to hear from you. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, please take a moment to do that now. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, help me build this channel. We've been kind of sitting at about 2,000, almost 3,000 now for several months. I'd like to grow this channel a little bigger, and all of your interactions help to build my channel. It is for you, as you know. If you're interested in any of the products that I used today, of course, I will have them linked and listed in the description box below. And until next time, here are a couple more videos I thought you might enjoy. Bye-bye.